I am pleased to be here in Pebble Beach, California, home of the Pro-Am Golf Tournament. And folks, today I'll be talking to someone who deserves to spend endless time playing golf after 14 grueling years in the league from 1976 to 1989. This New England Patriot and LA Raider established himself as the greatest corner in league history. And he'll be joined today by a guy who is a Hall of Famer in the game of life, his good friend and partner in numerous projects and charitable causes. I welcome Hall of Famer Mike Haynes and Dave Meltzer, the CEO of Sports One Marketing and the technical consultant on such movies as Jerry Maguire, Any Given Sunday, and HBO's Arliss. And by the way, a much sought after keynote speaker by companies around the globe. So how did you two hook up, Mike?
Well, actually, with common friends, really more than anything else. See him around, and he's a very personable guy, and that's really it. That's how we first met.
No question.
We do a lot with the Hall of Fame. My business partner is a Hall of Famer, Warren Moon, and so we do a lot of marketing for the Hall of Fame. And I kind of sought after Mike, to be honest, not only because he's from San Diego, where I'm from, but moreover, I look for guys who understand the legacy portion of playing football or any sport. And I ran Leigh Steinberg, the famous notable sports agency, and our whole motto was giving back and providing and being kind to your future self. And once I got to know Mike, I said, wow, this is my kind of guy. He was selfless, kind, and generous, but more importantly, wanted to empower other people.
Danny, my researcher was saying that you were early in your career one tough, hard-hitting, negative, nail-chewing somebody. Are you kidding me? You're the epitome of grace and all, but that was the way you came into the league?
That's the way you play football, and I actually I had a really strange situation, JB, where my rookie year I became a born-again Christian, and I almost quit playing football because I used to play.
Whoa, the Hall of Famer himself almost quit. Why?
Almost quit because, I was actually trying to knock you out. I was, that's the way I thought. I did start off that way, just trying to, really hit guys hard. Of course, that hit on Darryl Stingley. That could have been me that made that hit on Stingley. Darryl was one of my teammates in New England, and the ball was thrown a little bit high. And at the last minute, he saw Jack Tatum coming towards him. He ducked his head, and he had his head in a weird position and pinched some nerve in his neck, and he was paralyzed. And so with that, I thought, geez, that could have been me. I could have made that hit. I've done things similar, but no one ever was really hurt like that. So I thought, this is crazy. I'm doing this all wrong, And so I stayed in the league, obviously. I just had some good advice from some other guys, so I continued to hit hard. I didn't hit the same way, didn't have the same motivation when I hit, but I did hit hard, and I wanted to send a message. I didn't want them to continue to run towards me. That was the message. Go to the other side. Go inside, but just don't come over here.
Wow. And David, and playing off of what Mike just said, were those the kind of guys that you and Leigh Steinberg and all that have been doing, seek out in terms of being positive role models in the game of life? Because having the moniker the nicest guy in football is an oxymoron.
What really motivated me as an agent is that I kept seeing the image that the kids were seeing of these guys, these nasty, selfish, arrogant, ignorant, and it's just not true. 90-some% of them give their whole lives to charity.
Say that again.
90-some% of the athletes that I've represented, almost 100% of Hall of Famers, by the way, it's part of a character thing. You can't get into the Hall of Fame if you don't have something special in you. And they give their whole lives to charity. I know my business partner, Michael, they do nothing but give back. They're selfless. And yet the image out there, other news reporting agencies love to talk about the bad eggs and the bad incidents, some true, some false. But I wish the kids would see what I see every day.
Mike, if you would just hold the ring there for folks to take a look at. Take a look at that Hall of Fame ring, which certainly signifies one of the all-time greats amongst the millions at all levels of football, and it's with a guy who cares and represents the best. More with Mike Haynes and, of course, Mr. Meltzer right after this. I'm back with Dave Meltzer and 9-time Pro Bowler Mike Haynes, who was a kid in L.A., played not only football, but was an even better baseball player as well as a track star. Quote from me, he says, sports was an opportunity to express myself. So how is it that football took priority and precedence over what you might have even liked better, certainly were maybe as good as?
Well, I really never figured out which sport I was best at. I really never did. But I was fortunate enough to play in an all-star game where I got coached by Mike Garrett. He was one of our coaches. He was still playing pro football at the time, Kansas City. They really liked me, So after practice, we'd run sprints and everything, and I thought I was slow, but they thought I was fast. And so they asked me, Mike, what's your 40 time? And I thought, oh gosh, 4.7? They said, you're no 4.7. I go, 4.8?
You're going higher.
I'm going the wrong way. They said, no, you're no 4.7. You're at least a 4.4. And I said, I don't think so, sir. I didn't really know.
And for a tall guy at that too, but go ahead.
That was fast for a tall guy, especially quick. 40s are all about quickness. And so I got lucky. We played in that all-star game. I started getting recruited after that. But I played baseball my whole life. My dad was a real baseball fan. I grew up a big Dodger fan, and I never started playing football until the 10th grade.
You go on to be a Hall of Famer, arguably the best ever corner, but yet you didn't go right from high school to college. Why not?
I actually was at Arizona State, and they found out that I hadn't taken the ACT test.
You step on campus.
I thought I was going to be going to school. They were going to get a scholarship, but I hadn't taken the ACT. So they said, Mike, you're going to have to go back. You're going to have to leave until you take the ACT test. So I left. I was very fortunate and got a great job working at a place called Fredericks of Hollywood.
Which is?
Which is a retail store for mainly women's products.
Selling?
Oh gosh, you name it. It's stockings, bras, brassieres, fake legs, fake butts, every fake stuff, all kind of stuff.
Interesting. Go ahead.
But it was right on Hollywood Boulevard, and I was a young guy at that time. I think they might have had 35 stores, and they were growing rapidly. My boss went on vacation, and while he was gone, they left me and this other woman in charge. I was 18 years old. She took advantage of me, and she took off, and now I'm 18. I'm running everything. Now, when he came back, he said, Mike, I understand the great job you did. I heard all the good stuff that you did while I was gone. He goes, why aren't you going to college? And I said, well, why do I need to go to college? I got a job. I'm here, I'm with you, and you'll get promoted. Then I'll get promoted. I'll have your spot, and you'll have Mr. Gary's spot. And one day, probably by the time I'm 30, I'll be running this place. He said, son, it doesn't work that way. Said, my advice, he goes, is that Arizona State, are they still interested in you? I said, I don't know. He says, give them a call and see. So I called him. They said, have you taken the ACT test yet? I said, no, I haven't. He said, Mike, take the test. So I took the test, did well on the test, and that's when my college career started. But if not for him, I probably wouldn't be in college. I wouldn't have had this great career.
And to hear that all that many years later, Dave, when you talked about the sports agency that you were a significant part of and now what you're doing in the next phase of your life, most people would think that athletes are thinking, even today, more so, it is all about me. It's about the money, etc. But yet you guys were immensely successful in sending a message that was about something much more well-rounded. Why was that resonating? Does it resonate today?
Yeah, it does, and it's based off of 4 values that I learned from Leigh and carried over to Troy Aikman, Steve Young, all the greats that Leigh inspired through us. But one was gratitude, right? And it is timeless. It gives you perspective. It makes your past better, your future brighter. It continues on. It's perspective. 2 was teaching them forgiveness. And forgiveness is critical today because we're such a disconnected society. Even though a player may feel more connected because of social media, they actually are more disconnected. And so forgiveness, we really stress as a value that if you can't forgive yourself, you can't give forgiveness. The 3rd is accountability. You got to be accountable today. And then the final one is effective communication. That's so critical today. 2 ways to communicate. 1, with social media, we as agents and coaches and owners need to teach and empower these young men how to effectively utilize a platform that's so significant. But moreover, how to communicate this way. What inspires you? I wrote a book called Connected to Goodness, which is based off of this philosophy. How do I connect to that which inspires me? The consistent, persistent pursuit of the potential. Shameless plug. Do you hear that? Dave Meltzer, get on Amazon. You caught me, God.
So that sets the stage for the next segment where we talk about what you two are doing now. Because you know what? The 4 character points that you just delineated seem to be square, outdated, but you're telling me they're resonating. We'll find out more about what Mike Haynes and Dave Meltzer are doing today after this. Back here talking with Mike Haynes and Dave Meltzer, and you guys were giving us what, again, let me just play cynic here, seems to be square kinds of priorities in the game of life. Hall of Famer, football. Hall of Famer in terms of your business success now. What are you guys doing now, and is it truly resonating with young people?
Well, when I get a chance to talk now, not only to young people, but older people too, I try to tell them how much I've learned from sports and how it's all about the team. And I said, whenever I have problems, I try to look at it, how do I look at this as a team? I actually look at our country as one big team. I look at it that way. I look at my community as one big team. The mayor, he's a member of my team. The president, everybody is a member of my team. Now, sometimes you have a team that's, not functional, and other times you have a team that wants to be great. You have all these different types of teams. For athletes, if you can see yourself on a team and visualize being on this team, who's the coach? What is the situation right now? How would you respond in this situation if you were on a team? And it's helped a lot of people, helped a lot of young kids, it's helped adults, it's helped business people. And for me, it's been a win-win situation.
Not lost on me that you said that the message is not just for young people, but for seasoned people
Yes.
as well. And clearly Dave can speak to this as you're talking to a seasoned audience of, as Mike was just saying, people we would look at and say, my gosh, what do they need in the way of encouragement and reinforcement? You're finding that it's resonating with seasoned professionals who we would deem very successful?
Absolutely. In fact, work with Gary V, who's the master of social media, Gary Vaynerchuk. And I was worried. I said, well, is my message going to resonate with these young kids on Instagram and old people on LinkedIn? And what I found was I went back to what my mom, who was a mother of 6, single mom, teacher, and I learned, she said, you got to study history and philosophy. I said, Mom, that's old stuff. Right, I want to learn about calculus and computing, and she said no, because you have to learn this because human nature never changes. And that to me was so powerful as a young man with my mom, who I respected.
Human nature never changes.
And so study the human nature. And so human nature resonates with everyone. And what I find even more powerful is I made a ton of money, and I went bankrupt in my 30s. I retired and went bankrupt in my 30s. I lost more money than I ever dreamed of having. And I learned a valuable lesson: to be of service. I truly trusted the universe at that time. My wife, who stayed with me, she said, "You're
significant."
Yeah, very. and said,
as we know in the world of sports too, right? But
yes, very. And she said, "You're not worried about making back that money?" I said, "Oh no, I've always made money. I was a millionaire 9 months out of law school. Making money wasn't my problem. I wanted to learn the value of money. I wake up every morning. I pray to God that I can have 10 people in front of me that I can help. Every minute of the day, I try to just provide value, which creates a void for the universe to fill instead of me. And the universe is efficient, effective, and statistically successful, and it changed my life."
You guys ought to really go on the college circuit, maybe even get an endowed chair and teach that. You guys could knock them alive with that. More with Mike Haynes, Dave Meltzer, when we come back with more of the James Brown Show after this. I'm back with Dave Meltzer and Mike Haynes. By the way, Haynes won a Super Bowl in 1983, his first season with the Los Angeles Raiders. He says, quote, "It was the high point of my career. I didn't know it at the time, unfortunately." Wow. So as you take a look at your experiences winning a Super Bowl, lessons learned then, as well as the recently completed Super Bowl where the underdog got it done, life lesson takeaways from there that we can tie in terms of what the both of you are doing.
Well, I think joining the Raiders was eye-opener for me, coming from the Patriots, where I felt like we had a lot of smart guys and really guys that wanted to win and play hard. And then I went to the Raiders, and I'm not going to define these guys as smart guys, but they wanted to win, and they knew how to win, and they were used to winning. So as an example, when I was with the Patriots and we were going to play Miami in Miami, we normally would beat them in New England and lose in Miami. So I wasn't used to going to Miami and winning. On the Raiders, I think we lost 2 games in a row, and our next game was Miami in Miami. Now, I never say anything because I try to always remain positive in these situations. We're going to Miami, and our guys are saying, "Good, we have Miami in Miami." So the lesson for me was a lot of things that happen in life happen between your ears. You know, we beat ourselves up a lot of times, you know, and maybe there's no real reason for that. And so, you know, segue to this past, you know, Super Bowl with, you know, the Patriots and Philly. I think everybody was expecting New England to win. I know I was.
Looked like they were going to pull the comeback off again.
They might have, but it's such a team game, and it's a lot of stuff that happens between your ears. I just felt a little bit sorry for Patriot fans, but I totally understand. You know, one team is going to win, and again, the team with the best defense won the game.
Salient points from a game of life perspective that was learned in football.
It's a Napoleon Hill lesson of belief. Right, what was so amazing?
Of belief.
Belief. So you have Nick Foles, a lot of disbelievers, but yet who also almost quit football. And I can't tell you how many Hall of Famers and MVPs that I've met that had that moment that they felt like quitting, like Mike. But the most interesting was Coach Peterson to me, because I have so many people asking for help. And I think of myself, if 10 years ago I ran into Coach Peterson when he was a high school coach, 9 years ago. High school coach, and he said, Mr. Meltzer, can I have your help? I want to coach someday in the NFL, which I get these calls. And I would have said, absolutely. He said, in fact, Mr. Meltzer, I'm going to be the Super Bowl coach and beat Bill Belichick within a decade. Now, I would have told him, I hope so. I'm of service. Let me see how I can help you. But walking away, it would have been past my belief system. I would have limited my belief and smirked in my head going, oh my gosh, he's too big of a dreamer. And it was such a lesson for me and for all you kids out there especially. There's nobody that can limit what you can believe and achieve.
More with Mike Haynes and Dave Meltzer after this. Back here with Dave Meltzer and Pro Football Hall of Famer Mike Haynes, who, by the way, is a survivor of prostate cancer and has ever since been a tireless advocate for men to have screenings for this dangerous but curable disease. At this segment of the show, the final one, I normally ask the guests, backstory, life lesson, your closing thoughts.
Well, as you said, I'm a survivor of prostate cancer. I found out that I had prostate cancer by being in the right place at the right time. By luck, really by luck. And the doctor asked me if it ran in my family. I didn't know. He asked me if I knew anyone that had prostate cancer. I didn't know any. He told me that African American were more likely to get prostate cancer. I didn't know one. And so because 1 in 5 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, and I didn't know if it ran in my family, I did know that I was African American, so I was more likely to get it.
That's what you did know, right?
So when I got home, I called my primary care doctor, and he looked at my chart and looked at my PSA, which is the only way you can really tell. Some of this stuff is from blood tests. And he said, you know, Mike, since you are African American, let's send you for a biopsy. Well, my biopsy came back positive, and I was very lucky to find out in the early stages, because what we know now is if you wait until you have a symptom, oftentimes that's too late. And so you want to fight prostate cancer in the early stages when it's treatable, and I found out by luck. So I tell people, don't be like Mike. You know, you do not want to be like Mike on this one. You want to be proactive. You want to know your family history. If you're African American, you definitely want to be more active, and so you can make decisions that are going to keep you in the game of life for an awful long time.
Hopefully not too superficial, but significant. The message is common between the both of you. Jew and Gentile. Backstory, closing thoughts.
Grew up in a very Jewish family. My brother is actually a famous rabbi. But I'm kind of almost the black sheep, no pun intended, because I see everyone as one. And, you know, I actually, for my 50th birthday, I'm having a 50 for 50 birthday parties to raise money. I'm raising over $1 million for a leadership and empowerment center in Africa. And so I love the fact, the biggest story that'll tie this together, my 7-year-old, when the new president came in, he couldn't understand. He goes, oh my goodness, we had a white president. Because his whole life, he's 7, he thought this was like something to celebrate.
The lens through what you see.
I loved it, exactly. And I went to college at the same school as Obama, and but I think no matter what religion you are, what color you are, what I've learned through sports is that we're in humanity together, and that if you learn to be of service, we're all going to be better off.
Dave Meltzer, Mike Haynes, awesome. Thank you both very much. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week on another edition of The James Brown Show. You guys,
thank you, Jerry.